What would you tell your past self to have made that process, that transition from panic attack and quitting the job to Nomad Copy as it is now? What would you tell your past self to make that whole process quicker? Hey, QUAY.jo here, and you are listening to another episode of Before We Hit Record, where I have the privilege of just getting to know Sam. She says you say you go by Samantha too, right? Though.
I do. I do.
And so, Sam, you're the founder and the lead copywriter at Nomad Copy Agency. And what you told me is that through your agency and your membership called Copy on Demand, right? You help service providers get copy that sounds like them but converts better. And so we connected inside of the DMs. And I thought, well, I still think you're living kind of the life that I wanted to live, which spurred me to start my first online business, which is traveling the world. And I got the impression that you weren't like just spending a week here and a week there, but you're actually spending like really quality time in the places that you're at. And so I thought we could just kind of talk about that and how your business allows you to do that. And I just wanted to get to know you some. And so, like you, the listener listening to this episode, this is like the prequel. Sam will be back, and on the next episode, she'll be sharing about copy and some pretty marvelous things. So make sure to go down to the description below and click on the link after you listen to this episode to that episode, and let's just continue on because I like this kind of format. So Sam, where are you at right now? And I know that it's kind of loud.
Yes. Yeah. The reason for that is because I am outside. I am in a beautiful villa in Canggu, Bali.
What? Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I posted on my Instagram stories yesterday, like, that it was really surreal because as a digital nomad, Bali is one of those places that you just end up at some point. Like, every digital nomad goes to Bali. And it finally happened for me. And I quit my job to travel and run my business full time almost 5 years ago now. So, on one hand, it's wild that it took this long. On the other hand, it's wild to be here and finally be here. It feels really cliche, but it also feels like exactly the reason that I quit my job to take on this lifestyle was like, I look around and I'm next to a pool, and until an hour ago, there were people in the room from several different countries. And and I'm just hanging out in shorts and a tank top in early March and really living exactly what I had pictured for myself when I quit my job to start my business.
Okay, so you gotta break this down for us, because like, I'm sure some of the listeners have heard about the lifestyle that Bali can, give or provide, but then some people might be like, "Bali? Where's that exactly?" So first of all, where is Bali exactly in the world?
Yes. Bali is an island in Indonesia. It's a very big island. It's bigger than many US states. Bali is also I'm not sure if it's a state or province or what, but it's an area. Um, and there are several, I'll say this and then I'll explain it. There are several Balis. There's hippy dippy, come to find yourself, eat, pray, love Bali. There's digital nomad Bali. There's surfing Bali. Like there's Denpasar, which is just an awful, huge traffic riddled city. So there's city Bali as well. So there's a lot of different Balis. There's a Bali out there for everyone. But yes, Bali, we're relatively close to the equator. We're on an island. It has all of the beautiful things that islands have to offer. Indonesia itself is the largest, and by largest I mean most populous Muslim country in the world. But Bali itself is I believe it's predominantly Hindu. So it's also an outlier within Indonesia as well.
Whoa. And so for like, because I've seen well, back in the day, I've seen travel blogs to Bali, and the thing that always struck me was the beautiful beaches and the super low cost of living. And, like, people in villas with nice pool, like, in their backyard and just gorgeous views, like, places that would easily cost a couple million, or even higher if you're, like, in Hawaii for example, or some other place along the coast, like, what's it you wanna give us, like, a snapshot of what, like, I don't know, a three-bedroom, four-bedroom villa with a swimming pool in the backyard and maid service costs a month? Like,
Yeah, yeah, great question. So, it depends on how long you stay, is the biggest thing. So, if you're coming for a week-long holiday in Bali, it's gonna be honestly, you could pay the same amount as you would if you were coming for a month because you have a little bit of leverage there. But the people who live here long term, and I would call them either expats, immigrants, or slow mads, depending on how long they stay. So, in the nomad community, there's slow mads, and slow mads tend to stay somewhere for like 3 to 6 months at a time if the visa allows. I am not quite one of them because I tend to stay somewhere for 1 to 3 months at a time. So I have a little bit less leverage. But for me to have my one bedroom that gets fully cleaned every day, I share a pool with the other 3 apartments in my villa. Breakfast is included, utilities, Wi-Fi, co-working space, everything is here. Um, I am paying about $350 for the month.
total US dollar.
Yep, total US dollars. I rented my motorbike for $100 a month. My gym is really expensive, but it's really nice. There's a cafe and a pool and a cold plunge, hot plunge recovery area. It's a community. My gym is about 200 for the month, and like I said, that's expensive, but I get to meet people, and that's hard to do when you're moving all the time. So the gym is more than just a treadmill, you know?
Yeah. Or a squat rack. I'm assuming do you squat?
Right. Oh, do I squat?
Do you squat? How much you squat, Sam? How much you squat?
You know what? Tomorrow's leg day, and I'm gonna max on my squats tomorrow. So I will text you and let you know. You can put that in the show notes.
Oh, what a non-committal answer. Come on now.
I'm avoiding the answer because I also don't know if in my notes it's in kilos or pounds, but I know I've at least got plates. I'm at least working with plates.
You at least got plates. Alright, cool. I used to squat, and then I was doing, deadlifts and progressing too fast, and my body didn't like that, but I was a beginner and just happy to see, like, the weights increasing. I didn't listen to my body, and I hurt my knee pretty bad, and so now I don't squat, I don't even run, I just stroll.
Good, good. You're moving your body.
Right, yeah, I'm moving my body. I do pull-ups and push-ups at least, right?
There you go. There you go. Did I see you cycle as well?
I mountain bike.
You mountain bike. Okay.
Do you cycle? Like, cyclist, mountain bike?
I used to. I had a very nice bike. I used to do this thing called RAGBRAI, which is spelled RAGBRAI. It's an acronym for Register's Annual Great Bike Ride Across Iowa. I'm from Iowa originally. And every year the route changes, but it goes from west to east. It's 7 days of road cycling, and it's another one of those things that you can do however you want. You can have a sag wagon that carries all your stuff. Some people get extreme and bring their stuff with them. But yeah, I used to be a road cyclist for fun, and then I would do that every summer. Yeah, yeah. But then my very fancy bike got stolen, and I moved on to other hobbies.
Oh, what kind of bike did you have?
I had two. I had a Trek, and then I had a Schwinn Varsity that I completely like. It was like a 1988 model that we like sandblasted, redid, put all new components on, and like built from scratch. So part of the reason I couldn't replace it was because there's no way to get insurance on it.
Gotcha. Yeah, so okay. So I didn't even talk about this tons, but I did in university used to cycle. Hey, we'll get right back to the episode in a moment. You wanna make sure that you're avoiding all the mistakes with Facebook ads that could cost your business a good amount of money because your ads just aren't running like they should be. Well, you can hop on a call with me and I can look at your Facebook ads and you get to leverage my 3 years of Facebook ads management experience, optimize your account, fix it up right then and there on the call so that your ads will be running better and getting either more leads for you or making more sales for you. If you want my help, that is theartofonlinebusiness.com/call. And we can hop on Zoom together and you will learn so much as I fix your ads for you. All right, now back to the episode. My roommate back then, his name's Adrian Hedgevari, Hungarian last name, but Hegyvary. And if you Google that name, you'll see that like he went to the Olympics. So basically, when he was my roommate in college, he was big into cycling, and so naturally, I got into cycling. Though I used to only do like mountain biking, free riding in like urban is what we called it. So like think jumping down stair gaps and doing like wall rides and this sort of thing on the university campus. But he was big into cycling, and so I didn't buy a bike, but I bought a frame, and then he helped me like pick components for the frame. So it wasn't like a super high end build, but it did look pretty sweet because it was white, the frame was, and then I took Sharpies and started like in an artful way, like writing Chinese characters, like some big, some small, but like almost like a custom wrap for your frame, right? But I did it in Sharpies, and then the low budget wrap was I went and got what's that thing that girls use on their nails to keep the nail polish on longer? Like
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like a clear nail polish. Yeah, I don't know if there's a special word for it. Yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say varnish, but I was like, no, that sounds like I've never known any women in my life because they don't use varnish on their nails. Right? But
Well, if you speak French, the word for nail polish is vernis, which is basically varnish. So you're doing great.
okay, I think you're giving me too much credit. But yeah, so I put varnish all over my bike to kind of seal in the highlighter, or just I painted layers over, not the highlighter, the Sharpie marker. And this bike was nice, and it did get stolen too. Like I used it to communicate, to commute to work. And even the stupid thing is like I had clipless pedals, and so I'll not for I guess the listener who's like listening now that we're getting into bike stuff. You know, you have your pedals that you put your shoes on, right? And then like for people on the road, maybe they want to be more efficient, so they instead of just a regular pedal that they put their shoe on, which isn't so efficient because you can't pull up on the pedal, you're only pushing down on the front, and each time you can get clipless shoes, which clip your foot into the pedal, and now you can have like a more efficient using force on your pedals in a circular way, and yeah, efficiency. You can ride 100 miles and maybe not get as burnt out. Anyway, so I had clipless pedals, right? And I still forgot my bike on the front of the bus in a rush to get to work. So like I biked far to the bus and then took the bus another distance to work, and then left it bike on the bus. Yeah, and I was living in Seattle at the time, and so like the bus dropped me off downtown, and then it continued into a not as good part of town, and that's where the bike got stolen. The bus had a camera, like, you know, I'm, like, frantically at work, you know, supposed to be doing, like, the I was a busboy at the time, and instead I'm, like, at the front desk, like, calling the bus station, you know, because this is back before it was super easy just to go online and do things, um, and so finally, we got footage, and we could see somebody carrying away my bike. That was not me, and, dang it, yeah, that was a good bike. At any rate, yeah, so I did used to cycle, and did you compete too, or
No. No, I just did it for the joy of it.
okay, cool. Me too. I did, like, a couple of sprint triathlons, but, like, when I say a couple, I mean, I think actually 2, and,
Yeah, yeah, I did it. I really picked it up when I was in high school as I was exiting competitive sports, and I still wanted to be athletic without competing. And my like high school boyfriend was really into it too, so it just made a really easy foray into. And I was a cardio athlete. I ran and swam competitively, so to get into biking was just the natural next step, I think, because I have two left hands. Don't throw anything at me ever. I won't catch it.
alright, alright. So I wanna know, what were the feeling or the feelings that you had when you were able to quit your job and started with Nomad Copy? Like, and specifically, when you first landed abroad after quitting your job and starting with Nomad Copy, like, what were your initial feelings?
Okay, so I did not do it in that order. And Here's what happened. So I was working for a large company and they knew that I was on my way out. I had communicated that well and early, and about halfway, so the plan was that at the end of the year I would quit my job. Halfway through the year, I took a 2 week holiday and things had just been rough. There had been a change in leadership. It wasn't vibing. And I took a 2 week holiday and was abroad at the time. I was in Vietnam. I had packed a backpack to go just sweat on some beaches with some friends. Like, nothing work related. I was chilling. And um, I had checked my work email because I had accidentally sent a confirmation email to my work email and just saw a whole bunch of stuff going on and more or less had an anxiety attack, panic attack. I'm not entirely sure. And my friends were like, Sam, you've been putting this in front of you for so long. You've been saying, like, when I pay off my student loans, I'm going to quit my job and travel the world. When I save this much money, I'm going to quit my job and travel the world. When I get to the end of this year, I'm going to quit my job. And I was travel blogging at the time, and it wasn't making any real income, like $5 every here and there. And
Okay, so you weren't in like Mediavine or anything.
no, no, absolutely not. I was getting like thousands of hits to my website, but nowhere that was going to be monetizable for ads. And but I was, in hindsight, setting the foundation for understanding how to write and what people wanted to read and how to do SEO and how to monetize things online. So I really was setting a foundation, even though I didn't realize it at the time. But that was another thing that I had put in front of me of like, when my business is making this much, then I'll quit my job. And because I was in sales, I had had some major paychecks recently. And my friend that I was with was like, how much longer are you going to put this off? Like, what are you really doing here? And so I put my 2 weeks in while on a beach in Vietnam. And I lived with a colleague and I said, she'll bring my computer in. And that is how I quit my job.
So hold on. Give us some more context here. You were in sales. You were at a big company, sizable company, tech sales. You told them that you're gonna quit in half a year. So they didn't fire you right away?
No. They had opened a new office relatively recently, and they had moved me from Florida to Texas. And they had basically said, be here for a year. And I was like, okay, but I'm like on my way out. And they were like, yeah, we need kind of like cultural liaisons to go and be there for a year. And
I'm, like, looking at you across the screen. I feel like you're leaving out something that, like, you're, like, one of the top salespeople or you were just really good. Is that about right, or am I just
I just had a really good relationship with my manager. My manager was an incredible person. She and I still keep in touch. And she knew that, so really, she knew that I either was going to get a remote job within the company or leave the company. So we were looking at remote options within the company or hoping that I could keep my job and go remote. But she knew that it was one or the other, and that was really well communicated between her and I.
cool? No, I just like to hear the context of, because that's how I got started. I was a teacher in China at an international school, like many people in China. And then, having I think we had a lot of money just saved, and then it was at the point where I didn't tell them that I wanted to leave, but what I did do is say, "Hey, how about me and my wife are gonna job share out of the same position?" Because we're exploring, like, other things too. And so, like, they were able to let me do that. So, like, I was intrigued by your situation. So you're on the beach, and you basically got some nice commission checks, is what I understood, from sales, and your friend called you out, hopefully after your panic attack subsided, which my geez. So you checked your emails, and then you had a panic attack? Like, I'm like, what kind of emails were you checking?
Yeah, just so being in sales, I was client facing, and one of the clients was just one of those people. And because so the way that it works in sales for those listening who don't know is typically it's almost like blocking when you can use your points, like there's hot times and you can't take PTO or you couldn't in the position I was in, the last 2 weeks of any given quarter. So the first 2 weeks of July, first 2 weeks of January, a lot of people take their time off. So I was off, as was my boss and I believe my grand boss. So all of our emails were kicking back like, if you have any problems, go to this person. If you have any problems, go to this person. So this person, one, created a problem, like this client created a problem that didn't exist, and used it to his advantage to then try and say that like I was neglecting the account and da da da. Like he knew the right things to say to get attention, and by then it was already up at like the VP of whatever, and it's like we're gonna have a talk with Sam when she gets back, and
Oh, no.
like oh, it was a whole thing that shouldn't have happened. And if the higher leadership had had a little bit more faith in me, so like there was some clear cultural issues there. But yeah, it shouldn't have happened, and it did happen, and there were some leadership struggles with just like the whole team moving across the country and getting reassigned and people kind of doing power grabs and stuff. So
Okay.
it shouldn't have happened. It did happen. I was thrown under the bus rather than defended by my leadership, and it didn't sit well.
And so you were there and seeing all this kinda unfold in the email, but, like, in your heart having not gotten to the point where like, you knew you wanted out, so to speak, to start or continue pursuing your own business, but it was like you could almost see, like, your lifeline burning, and you weren't quite there yet to see it burn.
Yeah, yeah. It yeah. That's a good way to put it.
Okay, so you made the jump though. Like, thank God for your friend, right? Good friends, good people, like, who can give us some, like, good advice. But then what did that look like from when you actually put in your 2-week notice and you were blogging, and you said that it was right? And you said that basically you were collecting the skills, let's call them transferable skills that every listener who's applied for a job knows that word. And, then what happened? Because now you own Nomad Copy. Now everything is going well, but on the way, what happened?
Yeah, and this is something I love to talk about because I think so often we talk about it, and fast forward to now, da 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 da, and it's like let's talk about this fast forward because I spent the last 5 years in that fast forward. You know, so fast forward to now. What does that fast forward look like? So I was then without a computer because all I had was a backpack with some beachy dresses in it. And I decided to stay. So I went to the airport when my flight was meant to leave Vietnam, and instead of getting on my flight, I flew to Thailand. And this is 2019. Like beach cafe, or what's it called? Internet cafes were long gone by then. Those who worked remotely, quote unquote, through the early 2000s, maybe up till 2010, like internet cafes were still a thing. They really haven't been for the last 10 years. But I went to an internet cafe and logged into my email and sent emails to some mentors. And I said, "Hey, I'm on a beach in Vietnam. I'm recently a free agent. You've seen because I was publishing my blogs, on not really LinkedIn, but on Facebook and what have you. And so I sent emails to some mentors and I said, I'm a free agent. I don't really know what skills are needed, but I know that you own a business, and um, I would like to start replacing, like, I would like to be making money. I have some money to give me some runway, but I would like to be making some money. What do you know?" And every single person that responded either said, I'll let you know, I got plenty of those responses, but every single person that responded positively said, "Can you write this for me?" And it came down to being like, I need a new homepage. I need this. I need that. So um, I got introduced to a lot of people. I was blogging about finance. My career before tech sales was financial sales. So I do speak finance. And I was writing finance blogs. And then several people asked me to write their homepages. And I had no idea how to charge for it. I was charging $25 an hour while I did that, which looking back is like,
Can you still charge that rate? 'Cause I'll hire you for $25 an hour to do a sales.
I'll work really slowly if you hire me for $25 an hour. Yeah, so that's how it got started. And I was doing it paying $3 an hour to sit at these internet cafes in Thailand. Yeah, because I had no computer. So I stayed there. I stayed in Thailand for a month. I went to Hong Kong. I was there. If you remember, the Hong Kong airport shut down in 2019. It was like a huge protest that had a lot to do with the Hong Kong Chinese politics. But I was there, so I was in Hong Kong for that, and my mom was like trying to get me out, and I was like, "Oh, I'm good. Like what you see on TV is not what Hong Kong looks like right now." So I was there, and then I came back to the States and lived out the rest of my lease for that year in Dallas. Got in my car and drove around the US for several months and camped and car camped and stayed with friends and did all the like catching up with family and spent time with my grandma, all the things that I like always wanted to do but never really gave a lot of time to. So I did that in 2020 then. So my lease ended at the end of 19 in 2020. Went to Morocco. My mom was living in Germany at the time. We all know what happened in 2020. So I was very fortunate to land there. And at that time, all of my travel, so I had like built up my travel blogging a bit, but obviously the travel industry collapsed. So what happened though was that I then said, okay, all of these businesses are going online, and I have a portfolio of all these businesses that I just wrote their homepages and sales pages. So I put that out there, and that's really where Nomad Copy was born. Is a full year later was I transitioned from writing whatever to exclusively writing copy and helping people sell online. And that's I wanted to name my business Nomad Copy because I knew I wanted to be on the road, and I never wanted it to be a surprise to people that I wasn't, based in Philly or wherever they thought that they needed me to be. It was like always like I am like it's a lifestyle brand. I am I am a nomad and I write copy, and that's
Nomad Copy.
so yeah, that's what happened after I quit my job in Vietnam.
You finished your job and you ended up leaving Southeast Asia and spent a good amount of time in the States. And you were writing sales pages for $25 an hour. So you hadn't yet discovered the packaging, pricing, the like getting charged what you're worth and the value that you're delivering to these companies. Now they have a good sales page. What would you tell your past self to have made that process, that transition from panic attack and quitting the job to nomad copy as it is now? What would you tell your past self to make that whole process quicker?
I really look at every experience and I'm grateful for it. I think as business owners, we've all made the questionable coaching um, investment or not charged what we were worth, etc. But I think that I adequately raised my rates as I gained confidence. I really think I did really well there. I think if there's one thing to do differently per se, it would be to not be afraid to put myself in bigger rooms earlier.
Mm, okay. All right. I like that advice. It's fitting because we met in one of these bigger rooms. The mixer mind, right? When you said why it's copy before design.
Yeah. So picture two things in your mind. Picture a website when it totally glitches and all of a sudden it's just a bunch of HTML or whatever coding on a page. And then picture the opposite of that. Picture if you saw a beautiful sales page and all of a sudden all of the words were pulled off of it and you just had blocks and squiggles and stuff. Which one would you eventually be able to decipher what they are selling from? Is going to be the words left on the page. Now, I will fervently argue that it's copy and design, not copy or design, but I also firmly believe that copy needs to come before design.
I agree. Like, as an ads manager, I put more of my faith in the words than I do the design, and I actually have seen some, let's just say it, some pretty ugly sales pages, but the copy was, like, on point, and it worked because I could see the numbers that, these businesses were posting from, like, their program, and I'm just like, "This thing is ugly, but dang, they're selling lots."